Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples and Genos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. My name is Nate Gruneblank. I'm the creator of Apples and Genos, originator of the Zero G Draft Strategy. In this podcast, Blake and I are going to give you all of the best streamers and ad options for next week, the final week in fantasy hockey, so you can start planning early. Let's get it. And of course, I have your friend and my best friend, my buddy who's a little bit ruddy, Blake Creamer. Blake, how are we feeling tonight?
Ruddy. Why are you getting now? I have to get a dictionary again. You do this to me right off the top, Nate. It's very off-putting, but you know what? I'm gonna move past that. I'm feeling all right, my man. It's Friday. It doesn't seem real. I feel like the end of the season really snuck up on us, but now it's here, and it's just interesting how things kind of peter out, doesn't it? Because the people who are still in their leagues and there's less and less people still alive, right? And I'm one of those people. I'm getting demoed in a couple of spots here. I've got one shot at a championship. I'm in the semis in another that I'm winning, so I'm hoping to make it to the finals there. But yeah, I feel like we're on fumes a little bit, or at least I am, and I'm excited. I'm excited to get into the off-season content. That is some of my favorite stuff, where we look at all the things that went well, all the things that didn't go well, like players that really stepped up, players that surprised us. Like that's kind of where my head's at right now. So I feel like I'm not putting 100% into a couple of my matchups, but I don't know. I think things are good though, man. I'm excited. This Ovi stuff tonight was really cool. Like I can't believe, I just can't believe that a guy is going to break this record. And I talked so much yang on Ovechkin at the beginning of the year here. Like, and I stand behind it, but I just did not expect that this goal record would be such a huge deal for the Washington Capitals. And I also didn't expect all the newcomers that they added to be so good in that system. You know what I mean? Like to really insulate Ovi and kind of put him in positions to succeed. So it's really neat to see. Love watching hockey history. So I'm getting kind of jacked up about that. I don't know how you doing, my man.
I'm doing good. Feel similarly. The only thing I got going is a couple of third place matchups this week, which feels pretty anticlimactic. I'm not gonna lie. It's
get up for this.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to show up on the podium at the end of the year, but like, am I really, am I really doing a whole lot here? I'm changing anybody's mind about myself here? Don't think so. But either way, we roll on, and one of the things we got to roll on with, Blake, is we've got to roll on with some Newsies. So let's get to biz. Let's get into those Newsies.
What a segue. Newsies! Yeah! We got a lot of news, actually, which, I'm excited to give you, all right? Because we still got people going. We got to get the biz on this. All right. Uncle Leon, Mr. Draisaitl, he left Thursday's game in the second period with an undisclosed injury. No update yet. It does sound like he's going to miss the next Oilers game as well, which, if I'm not mistaken, is not readily available for me on my screen. Saturday against the Kings. All right, so sounds like he's going to be out for that game and potentially back next week some point. So check it out. That does stink, though, for sure. With the Oilers as well. It sounds like Matthias Ekholm, Stuart Skinner, they're not going to be joining the team on this road trip as well. So you got Calvin Pickard there. There are 4 lights. That's Captain Picard, Star Trek Next Generation. You know what I'm talking about? You ever watch this?
I have watched the Next Generation.
Oh, I knew you would be a Next Gen fan. All right. There is hope for you, Nathaniel. All right. I have a tattoo of Captain Picard playing a flute on my leg, if anybody's interested in that.
How high up is it?
Well, it's high enough, Nate. All right. It's a family program. Damn it. Yeah. But anyways, Calvin Pickard, he's got some value here. Should probably be a start, at least be on a squad here if he isn't already. Let's move on to the Vancouver Canucks. Oh, the most boring team in the entire league. Elias Pettersson, still not skating with the team. His return is up in the air. So, yeah, they're just going to keep rolling out the guys they have there, and it's pretty stinky. I'm not going to lie. It's not a fun watch. But, yeah, if you got Petey, I think you're holding, right? If you got the IR spot, he could get back here, next week, I would think. In Seattle, if you're rolling with Jaden Schwartz and Eli Tolvanen, these guys are both game time decisions for Saturday's game, so keep an eye on their status. In Anaheim, the Ducks, all right? That when you think Duck, you think ice hockey. Am I right, Nate?
I think everyone does. I
I think,
can't imagine what else you'd be thinking about.
yeah, like I just picture a little duck on, like with some skates, those little like duck feet, like with special personalized skates, just zipping around on a pond playing shinny. You ever think about that?
No, I just think about Jean-Sebastien Giguère winning the Conn Smythe as the goalie on the losing team and how sad he looked the
Just a
entire time.
brutal, yeah. I mean, kudos to him for coming out, buddy. But yeah, that's an epic photo. Like, get me the hell off the ice. So, definitely Google that, folks, if you're interested in seeing what I look like when I wake up in the morning. All right. But yeah, we're talking about Anaheim. John Gibson left Thursday's game with the lower body injury. So the Ducks called it Ville Husso. Yay, hooray for everything. But it's still going to be Dostal season there. He's going to get the majority of the starts. In Dallas, Jamie Benn is doubtful for Saturday's game as well. He has to quaff his beard a little bit more. He's got to get some product in there. He's not happy.
Slick his hair back a little
Yeah,
more.
exactly. Yeah, he's not happy with the the way he's kind of showing up. So he's going to get that sorted out. They got a special barber there in Dallas. St. Louis, Dylan Holloway is going to miss the next 2 games, which really stinks because this guy's been on a heater. So he's going to miss Saturday against the Avs and Monday against the Jets. And that's confirmed. So the teams are just waiting on info from the team doctor. He's got a lowy body injury. Now I'm just saying it all the time. So yeah, keep an eye out for Dylan Holloway there. Over to Florida, Sasha Barkov. He's going to be out this weekend as well. He's got I don't know what he's dealing with. But it's not serious. Paul Maurice said it's not serious, but they're being overly cautious there with Barkov. He's going to miss Saturday, Sunday. Brad Marchand still on power play 1, so he's not doing a damn thing. This guy has gone invisible towards the end of the year, and I had so much hope for the Rat. I thought the Rat going to Florida. This makes perfect sense. Yeah. You know what I mean? Next time they win, if Brad Marchand's on the bench, one of his teammates should just throw him on the ice. You know what I mean? Just whip him out there. Scott Mellenby come out of retirement, slap shot. Don't this.
Very nice. Just to circle back on Barkov, upper body. That's all we know.
Uppy body. All right. The upper portion of Barkov's body is injured. Okay, that's confirmed. Brady Tkachuk with the Ottawa Senators. He's day-to-day with an uppy body injury as well. Didn't skate on Friday, and the team was hoping he would. So, yeah, that's a little bit concerning. Obviously, this is your playoffs, and one of your key performers is out, and we don't have a lot of information. So that kind of stinks for Brady Tkachuk. In New York, Mika Zibanejad, DJ Zibby. He's sick and didn't practice on Friday. He's probably hungover, right? He's probably at the club. Just rocking out, just flows out the back. He's flipping it around. He's probably got a neck injury from all the headbanging. Anyways, check Zibby's status prior to game time. In Washington, Logan Thompson, he's going to miss some games as per head coach Spencer Carberry. So Charlie Lindgren is your Huckleberry, and he's going to get some run. Got the win here tonight with the Capitals. So, and he's going to play on Sunday as well, most likely. Over to the Avalanche of Colorado. Martin Necas, Jonathan Drouin, tooting right in my face in my playoff matchups. Yeah, both getting injured in the same game. So we just have to wait and see what's going on there to see if they're going to play Saturday against the Blues. Necas jammed his neck into somebody's rump. All right. He was on his belly and he was just flying forward, just jammed his neck. And then somebody's behind. All right. What's another word for bum? Do you have anything locked and loaded there, Nate? When you have to say the word bum to your kid, what do you say?
Bum. That's what I go with 9 times out of 10.
Jeez, crazy household over there. Just all kind of expletives. I always tell my son I'm going to give him a Swift shoe in the rear end, and that seems to get him up. You want a Swift shoe in the rear end, buddy? And that gets the job done. I also offer him a knuckle sandwich pretty much every day. He never accepts it. Okay. So Necas is injured. Drouin is dealing with a lower body injury. So keep an eye out for the status there on Saturday. Sorry, folks. This is probably our last waiver wire show of the season, so I'm just getting silly. Anthony Duclair of the New York Islanders, he's taken some time away from the team to reflect, according to Patrick Waugh. What was Waugh doing? I don't get this. I hate this crap. Just don't blow the man up in the media. I'm not saying that Duclair didn't deserve whatever Patrick Waugh had to say, but to do that in front of everybody, that's garbage. So that's my 2 cents on that. Over to Carolina, Andrei Svechnikov. He's not going to play this weekend either. Thanks for coming out, Svech. Terrible season. But, I mean, we're probably looking at some value next year, right? Next year's going to be the year for Svech, right, Nate? 20 minutes
obviously.
minimum time on ice.
It's the Ehlers situation all over again.
We were on that, 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and we're right there with Svech as well. All right, if we keep saying it, we're going to manifest it into fruition. I don't know if that sentence makes sense. All right. But anyways, RBA, Rod Brindamore says it's not a serious injury. They're being cautious with Svech. So there you go. Last couple things here. Nick Ehlers is a game time decision for Saturday. So check that out. And last thing in Washington, Alexei Protas left the game on Friday. He wasn't able to complete it. I think he might have got cut by a skate. So that could be it for him. For your playoffs, I don't know. So check his status prior to Sunday's game. But that's it, buddy. That's the news. We need to get the biz. We need to attack the schedule.
All right, let's do it then. Let's attack that schedule. This is a long week 25. So there's 2 weeks within the week that is week 25. But starting off on this upcoming Monday, we have 5 games, Tuesday 10 games, Wednesday 5 games, Thursday 10 games, Friday 5 games, Saturday 11 games, and Sunday 9 games. And then moving into the second portion, the following Monday, it's 6 games, 10 games on Tuesday, 6 games on Wednesday, and 7 games on the final day of the season, Thursday. So in total, that's 84 games played, obviously a massive week, and individual games played here or there are probably not going to move the needle for you. You're going to need more than that out of your streamers for them to actually make a big difference here. So you got to take a bit more of a long-term approach with your ads, in my opinion. So with that in mind, I'm taking a little bit more of a long-term approach with the teams that I'm going to mention here. 4 teams play Monday, Wednesday, Friday off nights to open the week. That's really nice. Calgary, Edmonton, San Jose, and Tampa all go on those off nights to start next week. They all go on the Sunday 9-game schedule as well. So really nice schedule to open up your week 25 for those 4 teams for sure. 3 teams play 3 games Monday through Thursday. So if you are looking to get a quick leg up on your opponent, Anaheim, the New York Rangers, and Seattle Seattle goes Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then Anaheim and New York both go Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So with these not so heavy nights, you can really prioritize the total games played in your streamers. Like the heaviest night out of all of this is the Saturday with the 11 games. And then pretty much everywhere else, you got these 10 games and the Sunday 9 game in there. And so there's probably going to be a fair number of those quote unquote heavy nights where you're actually going to have some room for a streamer. And so you do really want to check that out and prioritize those actual games played over the off nights in a lot of spots, just so that you can absolutely maximize the total games played and actually have an effect. Because if you aren't maximizing your total games played and getting a lot of extra games played out of your streamer, it's probably not going to make a huge difference in a week like this where everybody's playing a ton of games regardless. So there are 13 teams that play 6 games throughout week 25. So that's definitely a good place to start. Anyone on your team playing anything less is a potential drop in my mind, especially the teams. There's a few, and we'll go through them, that are playing only 4 games in this kind of week and a half stretch, 11-day stretch. Altogether, though, it is a pretty great streaming week. There's a million ways to cut the cake with the busy off nights and not so heavy nights here. So lots of options. Anything you want to say on the schedule, Blake?
No, I think you nailed it there. As we went on throughout this season here, I think we've really started to identify the off night weeks where you want to prioritize off nights, and then the volume weeks where we want to prioritize volume. And I think that's something that's sort of, I feel like we've honed a little bit this season, is like identifying that. And yeah, this is a volume week for sure.
For sure. Why don't you bring us in? Let's lower some expectations for these people.
Lowered expectations. They don't get much lower than this, folks. All right. Yeah. Well, I guess they could get a lot lower. We got some teams here, as Nate was describing here. Boston and Colorado both only play 4 games, and none of those games are on the off nights. However, Colorado does have a pretty good stream for the first 7 days of week 25. So, for example, what the hell am I looking at here? Yeah, Colorado plays Tuesday, Thursday, and then Saturday, Sunday, which you could potentially get them in on all those games, or at least 3 of them, right? So, and your players with Colorado, you're keeping all your big dogs for sure. It's just those streamer level guys, which we'll talk about in a second here. So, let's look into it here, starting with Boston. All right, they play Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, Tuesday in this big week here, and I don't see why we're holding anybody on Boston this week. Like, I don't want to simplify it too much here, but is there any reason, any hope with any of these Boston players? And I'm talking about Lindholm, Geeky, Zaka, Middlestat, Lowry, Nikita Zadorov. What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, Pasternak, different caliber player. We're definitely hanging on to David Pasternak, but all the guys you mentioned, everybody below that that level, yeah, I feel totally fine about letting them go. This is a prime example of a team that you can get rid of, and you can pick up a 6-night streamer and get an actual 2 games played plus on your week, and that's definitely something I'd be looking to do if I had anybody on Boston not named David Pasternak.
Yep, you bet, buddy. Makes total sense. Let's just move on to Colorado. Like I said, they play 4 games, and it's all in that first 7 days. So after that, everybody on the team, bye, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a weird thing dropping Nathan McKinnon. Be like, yeah, get the hell off my team, buddy. Yeah, thank you for your service, but they're done. So after Sunday, Colorado is done. So everybody's a drop after that. How are you treating the Colorado Avalanche in the first 7 days of week 25 here, Nate?
Yeah, in the first 7 days, I think you can go ahead and keep them on your roster. Probably they're going to get into these games for you, the not so heavy nights that they do play. So you're probably hanging on to your Devon Toews, your Valerie Nichushkin, your Arturi Lehkonen. We'll see what the injury status is with Drouin, obviously. But yeah, most of these guys you're probably hanging on to throughout that first 4 days, and then after that, you let them go. I mean, hopefully this isn't a spot. This is another reason why you should not play with can't cut lists. Yeah, who has a can't
Yeah.
cut list, and I think it's by default toggled on if you're creating a custom league. I make sure to go in and turn that off in all my leagues, but if that is on in your league, you're going to be sitting there. Like, I have to imagine there's somebody somewhere who has like a McKinnon, Makar, or Natchez stack or something like that. And they're just stuck with both
Yep.
McKinnon and Makar, and like it's terrific when it's working, and then they get to the end of the season, they're just gonna have to eat this dead roster spot for 4 days of their finals week. So yeah, if you needed another reason to not play with Can't Cutlass, there's one for you. But yeah, that is the situation with Colorado. Very weird end to the season for them to
Mhm.
not play in the final 4 days of games being scheduled, but that's how it is. And so obviously it is a spot where you can probably take advantage.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, how are you ranking some of these Colorado guys? Like, if you needed to get off them, like, are we just looking at power play 1 currently, and maybe assuming that Natchez and Drouin are probably going to miss maybe a game or 2 here? Like, how are you sort of prioritizing this?
Yeah, I think that's probably the fairest way to do it. I mean, there is the like Lehkonen wasn't even on power play 1,
Yeah, I
even
see
with
that.
these guys not being in there, which is concerning for me at this point. Nichushkin looks really good under the hood as of late, so I'm still pretty big on Nichushkin, even though he hasn't had the results as of late. Lehkonen also hasn't had the results of late. His underlying stats don't look terrible except for the shots themselves. He's still averaging 19 minutes a night over the last 5 games here. So, yeah, I think I would go Nutrition first, like far and above the other two being Lehkonen and Drouin. But yeah, between Drouin and Lehkonen, it is still pretty much deployment dependent. I would go with whoever's playing with McKinnon the most. Probably it looks like that's going to be Drouin when he's back, but Lehkonen has gotten some run on that top line too, so it is pretty up in the air for me.
How about our boy, the Coiler? He's on power play 1 with the grumpiest man on earth. Why are we not talking about this? Why has it taken me so long to do this? I love to see it. All right. But yeah, I don't know. I just love those men. All right. They're big, beautiful men. Shout out to the Coiler. Shout out to the grumpiest man on earth. Let's move on. Okay. So that's it for those teams there. Let's move on to another set of teams here that only play 4 games, but they do have some off nights. So it's Minnesota, it's Pittsburgh, and it's St. Louis. Minnesota, man, what a slog they're going on right now. These guys can't buy a goal. They can't get a win. That stinks. But let's start with them. They play Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and then they play Tuesday. So, and then they're done after that. So Let's look at some of these Minnesota Wild players here, and we'll start with Brock Faber, Matt Zuccarello, the Zucchini Man, Marco Rossi, Jared Spurgeon, Jake Middleton, and Ryan Hartman. I mean, how are you? What do you like about the Wild here? Are any of these players here tickling your fancy?
Yeah, I mean, I think these are all guys you can potentially look at dropping. Obviously, it matters when they're going to play for you, but if you get through, like, Minnesota here plays Wednesday and Friday off nights, right? So then the last two games that they do play, the Saturday and the Tuesday, are both heavier nights. If there's even a question of who to drop to potentially, if you're benching somebody on one or both of those nights anyway, it's got to be the guy from Minnesota here and get somebody in. There are plenty of teams that have more games played in the back part of that stretch, the Sunday through the following Thursday. So definitely all of these guys are options to be dropped. As you mentioned, it is really tough to watch what's going on there. Like, even in this game against the Islanders, typically you see, like, in the shot effects, the even strength shot effects, you see them start to push back in the final period. Did not happen in this game.
Yeah.
It was just pretty much domination by the Islanders, start to finish here in terms of the shot share and the attempt share. And so that's not a good look for a team like Minnesota. And yeah, it's reflected in the numbers. The underlying numbers don't look good. Nothing is going right at the moment. They desperately need Kaprizov back in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, they're a playoff team, but they're really limping past the finish line here. To me, like Minnesota, they've played their first game on Wednesday against San Jose, which is a nice game, but none of these guys on this team are really, to me, must-holds even through that. Like, I'd almost rather get a team that plays 3 games in the first 4 nights and just bounce my Wild players. But, I'm not saying you need to do that, but, I mean, who is really standing out of this group? Like, Matt Zuccarello? Maybe. I mean, it's just slim pickings. So I'm not really stoked on the Wild here moving forward. And yeah, Jeek and Cap coming back, I don't know if it's going to happen. Or, you might get 1 or 2 games out of them. So that's really not worth it either, right? That's my 2 thoughts on Minnesota there. Let's move over to Pittsburgh. They play Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, and then you have to wait all the way for Thursday's game. So, this might be a situation where maybe you hold them Tuesday, Friday, Sunday even, and then bounce your Pittsburgh players potentially. That's something you could do. But yeah, we're looking at some of the big dogs on Pittsburgh now. Erik Karlsson, Rickard Rakell. Yeah, he's on a strange erotic journey from Milan to Minsk. He's learning a lot about himself. Chris Letang, Brian Rust. I still can't believe Brian Rust is rostered under 50% all year long. I don't get it. Like, what? I don't know. I said that in my last pod. I'm saying it now because this guy's been great this year. I love Rusty. He's had a great season. And Malkin sounds like he's going to be a game time decision here for Saturday. So he's potentially an option for week 25. What do you think about your Pittsburgh players and how are you treating the Penguins in this big week?
Yeah, I think this is a spot where I'm taking a hard look at what these guys might offer me. And if I do think that there's a chance that I can do better with what's out there on the waiver wire, if I'm going to get 6 games from somebody else, like Raquel at even strength has been playing not on the Crosby line. It's been Rust with McGrarty up there with Crosby, and Raquel has been relegated to the Connor Dewar Ville Koivunen line. I don't know how that sounds to you, but
I
that
don't know who
sounds
those players are.
truly awful to me. So yeah, I think, like, you have to evaluate how desperately you want to hang on to Rickard Rakell. His underlying numbers have fallen off here. He does have 5 points in the last 5 games, so the point scoring is still there, but it is getting down to crunch time, and you got to think long and hard about these kinds of decisions. Carlson and Letang on the back end, you got to think about that. The underlying numbers don't look too bad under the hood there for either of these players, but again, if there's a situation, maybe you can fit a forward in with a pretty good schedule. We'll talk about some of them in the upcoming bit, but like, there are definitely forward streamers with 6 games that you'll probably get for all 6 games that I would definitely consider rostering over Erik Karlsson, over Chris Letang, depending on the size of your league.
Absolutely, buddy. Interesting stuff. These are fun, weird decisions to make, at the end of your season. I really hate playing right up until April 17th. I don't like that at all. It's just silly season, and all these injuries. like up to week 24, it felt like things were kind of on the rails. Now we got these weird, precautionary, like Barkov, Svechnikov, guys that probably could play that aren't playing. It's just frustrating. So I don't know. But then
even on the 32 Thoughts pod, they were talking about like Brady Tkachuk even, and they're talking about how Ottawa feels pretty comfortable with where they're at now. They beat Tampa Bay without Tkachuk in the lineup, and I think they're like 6 points up on Montreal and 8 up on the Rangers at this point or something like that. I haven't looked at the standings today, but something along those lines. And so it is a situation where the more comfortable teams get with where they're at and the less agency they have over, actually changing something about their playoff matchup or whatever they might want to change, the less motivation they have to actually win games, the less motivation they have to play their star players. And so that is a real consideration for a lot of these teams as we get closer and closer to the end of the season here.
Yeah. Finish your leagues, week 24. That makes the most sense to me. My 2 cents there. Unsolicited advice. Well, it is solicited, actually. People are listening to the pod. So yeah, I forgot about that. All right. I'm working on that in my personal life to not give unsolicited advice because I do that, but you're soliciting, so I'm giving it. All right. Let's talk about the last team here, St. Louis Blues. They play Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and then Tuesday. So that's an interesting schedule, pretty spread out, actually. I think Monday, Wednesday, I'm absolutely holding on to my St. Louis players, even the streamers. I think that makes total sense. But after that, all bets are off. 2 games in the final, like, what is that, week? No, like 2 games in 7 days. That's not going to cut it. So, let's look at some of these players. Obviously, we're talking Jordan Kyrou. We're talking Dylan Holloway, who has that injury now, Pavel Buchnevich, Justin Falk, Braden Shen, Jake Neighbors, and that late night beauty Cam Fowler. And I do want to say as well before I get to you here, Nate, Robert Thomas. This guy is going bonkers. Oh, geez. I mean, I wonder if he likes Matchbox 20. Do you think Robert Thomas actually listens to Matchbox 20? I mean, what's your over-under on that?
I think he probably hates the fact that he has the same name as the lead singer of Matchbox 20. That would be my best guess.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Did you ever see Office Space? We might have asked this before, but I'm asking again. You ever seen the movie?
No.
God, I get that. Well, for the listeners out there, all right, there's a guy, his name is Michael Bolton, all right, and he hates the musician Michael Bolton because he says, he's the one who sucks. Why should I change my name, right? And maybe that's what Robert Thomas is thinking about with, the Matchbox 20 lead singer. Anyways, they're always catching strays here on the Apples and Ginos podcast. I know they're good sports. They're big fans of the show. I've talked to them personally. Talk to me about the Blues, Nate. I'm sorry about this. So what are you doing Monday, Wednesday? How are you sort of organizing your team after that? And are you dropping a guy like Robert Thomas after Monday, Wednesday?
I think it's on the table. It really depends, but and probably not in a 12-team league where there's maybe a little bit less on the wire. But if I can get 4 games after the Monday, Wednesday of a player who is pretty reasonable, and we'll talk about some of those names. Maybe we can relate them back to Thomas and kind of have that one-to-one conversation once we get there. But I think you got to put it on the table at the very least. But yeah, Kyrou and Thomas are the guys that I would definitely be trying to hang on to. Holloway, now that he's going to be coming back from injury, we don't know necessarily what that even looks like. If there's any sense that he's playing at a bit of a reduced level, or he's got a little bit of the wind taken out of his sails just by being off for a little bit, off the ice for a little bit. I think you're going to consider that. Again, his underlying numbers have not looked as good in the last 5 games here as they have at times throughout this hot streak that he's been on. Everybody else below that, Buchnevich, Falk, Shen, Neighbors, Fowler, don't really care how hot they are. Obviously, St. Louis as a team has been on an absolute bender. Huge shooting percentages, also playing very well. Don't want to take anything away from them, but it also stands to reason that there could be a bit of regression coming their way as well as they get into the last couple games here, and now as they're starting to get a little bit banged up as well. So, I think it's definitely on the table. Kyrou and Thomas would definitely be the hardest 2 guys to drop at the moment, but everybody else, I probably wouldn't think twice about if I'm getting a reasonably high-value streamer for 4 games versus the 2 from these.
I like that. Yep. Everything's going to be individual to your situation there. Make sure you're hitting up Nate, hitting up myself. Any questions? Like, we want to get you there. We want to get you those championships. So if you want to kick some stuff off of us, feel free anytime. But buddy, that's it for the lowered expectations. We gotta We got to cross those streams.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
you bet. All right. Okay. Tonight is a special night. No, with tonight likely being our last waiver wire show of the season. All right. We might do like a smaller one just to help you with the back half of week 25. But this is the main one. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to take it back to the beginning. Okay. The first time Nate and I ever crossed the streams, you talked about this, Nate. We went to a beautiful lake. We're facing the mountains. There were frogs on lily pads. Birds were singing pretty tunes, right? And we were just drinking brews, sitting by the fire, talking about life. And the mood just struck us. Okay. And, we were both percolating. Okay. We'd had a lot to drink. And we just instinctively walked towards the lake to pee. And we crossed those streams together like men. While the sun was setting. And, and we both just contemplated life, didn't we, Nate? And just what it all means as we emptied our bladders. You remember that?
Yeah. How could I forget?
I know. Yeah, it was a good time. And our ritual was born, right? So just recently here, to celebrate another successful season here at Apples and Ginos, Nate and I went back to the same spot. And this felt really good, right? And unbeknownst to me, Nate, he's a very thoughtful man. He had a great surprise, okay, waiting for me. We show up at the spot. And all our boys were there. All right. Josh was there. Josh Hutchinson was there. It was amazing. He was playing a guitar. Binksy was there. John Binkle, he had a cowboy hat on and probably the biggest belt buckle I've ever seen in my life. Okay. Gugsy, he was there. He was sitting by the fire, all decked out in retro Canucks gear. Mark Barber, 18 Skaters, he was sitting there. He had a laptop for some reason. He was like coding or something. I don't know what was happening there. Fantasy hockey professor. Yeah. Skipping rocks. He was doing that. And you know what? We pull up at the spot here, and it was one of the most beautiful sights I've ever seen. And I could tell that it was going to be a massive bro down, okay, with the A&G squad, okay? So, I downed a huge bottle of cranberry juice on the way down. I was ready to kick this thing off, right? And the boys knew what to do, okay? We all just walked out together, shoulder to shoulder, side by side, and just faced the lake. And we just started streaming and dreaming, didn't we, Nate?
It was a magical moment. What can I say?
Yeah, absolutely, buddy. We're all, and the way we're all lined up though was kind of interesting. The streams were creating a small like whirlpool in the lake, right? And we just kept going, and the whirlpool just kept gaining speed and strength. So it was special. I mean, we're all looking at it. None of us had really seen anything like that before. So we just kept our aim, our focus, and we kept going. But we knew we were onto something special. There was a moment there. You remember this, Nate, when the sun went down over the mountains, and we all just looked at each other, and we realized how lucky we are to have each other in our lives, to play this crazy game of fantasy hockey, and to share it with all of you listeners out there and with each other, right? It was just an out-of-body experience. It felt amazing. Unfortunately, something shocked me back into coherence. A random fish must have gotten sucked into the whirlpool vortex, right? And it got stuck in there. And before we could stop, the fish, it launched out of the water, just slapped me right in the head like that, right? It knocked me back. And I stepped on a log. I was starting to fall. I kind of grabbed Nate there. And as I was going down, I just whizzed all over Nate's shoes. They took the brunt of the stream, right? He wasn't too pleased. He backed up himself. But as he did, his stream sort of made his way right into Josh's guitar, into the hollow body, right? And made a sound I hadn't heard of before. And then with Nate out of line, he actually just started whizzing on Binksy's belt buckle, right? The flow was insane. He was pushing him backwards with the stream. Josh has a very healthy prostate. That's confirmed. Binksy, he takes his cowboy hat off. He uses it as a shield, but the errant spray, it got onto Mark's laptop and it started shorting it out, basically rendering all of Mark's data unusable. Okay. So Mark stepped up quickly to get up and save his laptop, but he wasn't quite finished. So he just whizzed on the inside of his zipper. Gugsy and the professor, these guys were just clueless. They didn't know what was going on. They were still just whizzing together right into the lake, high-fiving each other. They seemingly unaware of the chaos and derailing of the stream cross. Although, I think the professor did get one of those frogs on a lily pad, and he just kind of just swam away. But meanwhile, with all this going on, I'd fallen right into the whirlpool, okay? And I was whisked away down the shore, okay? Luckily, there was a log, a piece of driftwood or something. I wrapped my legs around that and kind of just, it took me ashore there. But despite the urine-soaked mishap, I've never felt closer to these boys, and I couldn't do what I do without them. So thank you, boys. Thank you, Nate. And thank you, listeners, for allowing us to do this podcast and for accepting and supporting us for what we do here. We appreciate you. And remember, there's never a bad time to cross the streams with your friends. And I hope one day to cross the streams with all of you. Thank you very much.
It's beautiful,
Oh,
touching sentiment, and a tremendous close to a tremendous year of stories, Blake.
oh
Appreciate you.
yeah, we had some fun, man. Oh yeah, that was a good segment, and I enjoyed it. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think of some other crap for next year. I don't know what's going on, but yeah. Again, like I say all the time, try living in here, all right, in this brain right here. It's no picnic. Okay. Anyways, let's talk about the best teams to stream. That's what we're
Let's
here
do
to
it.
do. Okay. Thank you, Nate, for your patience. All right, we got a couple teams here with a very good schedule. Edmonton Oilers and the San Jose Sharks both play 6 games, with 5 of those games on the off nights. So we'll start in Edmonton here. They play Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, which is a really nice way. Like, you could probably just one and done a stream from Edmonton if you're actually interested in some of these guys, which with Draisaitl and McDavid out, yeah, we're these guys are on the table, that's for sure. And we're looking at Jeff the Twirly Woo Skinner and Victor Arvidsson. Talk to me about these Oilers, and do you have any interest in these players? And if so, which one or both?
Yeah, I mean, it is tough. Like, I would have said Skinner, but then they took him off the top power play. But now Draisaitl's out, so he probably goes back on the top power play. But also Draisaitl's out, so there's no chance that he's playing with Draisaitl. Yeah, confusing times for sure with both of these players. I will say, like, Arvidsson's underlying numbers are coming back up a little bit. 22nd in shots per 60 over the last 5. He's got 3 goals in that span, almost 60 and a half minutes average time on ice. So some potential good stuff looming under the hood for Arvidsson, but not getting that Draisaitl exposure that he was getting, at least in the last game, and on top power play in the last game as well. So yeah, I guess like flip a coin between these two or try to catch some early lines and see how it's shaken out. But I do expect both of them to be on the top power play in Edmonton for as long as both McDavid and Draisaitl remain out. I think they'll be cautious, right? I
Yep.
don't think Edmonton has a lot to prove to anybody at this point in the season. Um, yeah, it just looks like a situation where they're going to be playing the Kings in the first round, and that's that. So what do they really have to prove or have to get done in the last portion of the season here? So most likely you can go with either one of these two. I think maybe Arvidsson provides a little bit more floor just because you expect him to provide a bit more in terms of shots, but Skinner might be the guy more likely to pop for like 2 goals or 4 goals in 5 games or something random like that. So you can kind of take that for what it is. I personally, like, I would actually flip a coin right now if I had to
Mhm.
make this decision today.
Remember the conversation at the beginning of the year? Like, I'm one thing I like to do after we're done here is I like to go back through the projections episodes and sort of listen to what our thought process was. And that was an interesting conversation, right? Jeff Skinner versus Victor Arvidsson. And it looks like they both did nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it just nothing happened here. Right. And I think Arvidsson had a chance to do something, but it's just the case when you're on a team with these two superstars, and that honestly the team has to prioritize, right? So it's
Yeah.
the rest of the team sort of gets the scraps, and that's sort of been the case here. So yeah, interesting stuff. Both of them kind of whitewash each other here. That's fine. Let's move on to the San Jose Sharks. Some good players here, and a lot of people have probably gotten off of the Sharks, right? Because they had such a terrible schedule up until this week, right? And now they play the same as Edmonton: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday. So that's a great spot. Again, you can pick up one San Jose Shark and stream them for the entire time. It's not a bad play. So let's dig into some of these players here. We're looking at Tyler Toffoli, William Eklund, Will Smith, Mario Ferraro. If you're in a bangers league, there's some decent value there. What do you like? First off, I love Eklund. I love that Eklund is actually having a great year. He's pacing for 64 points. I love that. It's just nice when you think highly of a player and he is actually able to, succeed a little bit. Like a 64-point season with this team, that's awesome, man. And I think I like what the San Jose has done this year. I feel like they've got such great young talent. They need to insulate them a little bit more, but anyways, I'm digressing. Talk to me about Toffoli, Eklund, Smith, and Ferraro, and how you're sort of ranking them.
Yeah, I still like Toffoli the most. 38 shots per 60. He's got 3 goals and 4 points in the
Yeah.
last 5 here, playing on the top line in the last game with Celebrini and Smith, while Eklund was pushed down to play with Wenberg and somebody called Cam Lund, who I've never heard of before this exact moment in time. So, yeah, not ideal for Eklund. I will say in Eklund's favor, he's getting the most minutes out of this trio, almost 19 and a half minutes. He's got 3 points in the last 5, 80th shots per 60, 24th individual scoring chances, 4 per 60. His underlying numbers look terrific.
Yep.
So you got to like that for Eklund. Probably the best underlying numbers in a 5-game stretch of his entire season, to be quite honest with you. So yeah, I like that for Eklund, but not getting the prime exposure except on the top power play where he still resides along with the others here. So yeah, I think I would take Toffoli and then Eklund, and then Will Smith has gone a little bit cold here over the last bit. 1 assist only in his last 5, still 19 minutes a night, 253rd shots per 60, 115 individual scoring chances, 4 per 60. Yeah, just kind of having another natural ebb and flow. Is a rookie, so you do tend to see these things a little bit more than you might see from a veteran like Toffoli. So I would put Smith at third of these 3 at the moment.
Yeah, sweet. It's nice to see Mario Ferraro, 5 assists in 5 games. I just noticed that he had 5 assists in his last 5 games. He has 17 points on the year. So this man's on absolute burner. Shout out to Mario Ferraro. It's me, Mario. And there's more teams. Okay, there is 4 teams that play 6 games with 4 off nights, and those are the Calgary Flames, Detroit Red Wings, New York Rangers, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Let's start in Calgary. We got the Flames play Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, and then they play Tuesday and Thursday. That's a perfect schedule to me. That's great. Like this is one of those weeks where you can split it up. And I think Calgary certainly has a nice back of the week, but yeah, a really great start to the week as well. So let's look at some of these players here. I think we got to shout out Blake the Snake Coleman. This guy's been ice cold all year, and now he's popping the hell off, at least with his metrics. So I like that. We got the Popsicle, Martin Pospisil. I had him as he was one of my hot takes this year. I don't remember what the take was. I'm going to take a bath on that one. But yeah, I mean, his shooting percentage, freaking terrible. 3.8%, Marty, on the year. Are you kidding me? How did you get in the NHL? I don't know. But Pospisil, he's a legend. He's a beefer, but that's been kind of a garbage season. Anyway, we got Mikhail Backlund, Matt Coronado, Joel Farabee, the Tinkly Winkly man, Morgan Frost. So talk to me about these Calgary streamers here and how you're ranking them.
Yeah, all of them pretty cold in terms of the points scored. Coleman is the only one with more than 1 point in the last 5 games of all the players you just mentioned. He had both goals in the last game that Calgary played. 17 and a half minutes average time on ice. The underlying metrics here with Coleman are absolutely electric. 12th in shots per 60, first in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, 54th Corsi, 4 per 60, 9th in on-ice scoring chances, 4 per 60. Coleman is a little bit like that. He's got a little bit of that on-again, off-again streakiness to his game, and it looks like he's heating up right at crunch time here, so I love that for him, and I love that for us if we're looking for a streamer. Coleman is by far the player I'm most interested in here right now.
Yep.
I still have some love for, Matt Coronado just by virtue of the fact that he's on the top power play still. They seem to be fairly committed to this Kadri, Huberdeau, Frost, Coronado top power play. Frost and Coronado are playing with Huberdeau at even strength as well as of the last game, so maybe that's something you want to consider. I will say Joel Farabee's underlying numbers look pretty solid in the last 5 games, even though he doesn't have any points to show for it. 44 shots per 60, 39th individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, and 3rd in on-ice scoring chances, 4 per 60. He's been playing with Coleman and Backlund on that line, getting a lot of even strength time. So that's also a look in some deeper leagues. I think, yeah, I like Coleman. I like Coronado. I like Farabee here. Frost, if you want to just take a shot that he gets an assist on the top power play unit, that's probably his best bet at scoring a point here. Other than that, it is a bit of a, take your pick of all these very similarly ranked players. Maybe in your 14-team leagues, some of these guys are of consideration. Probably Coleman is the number one guy you're looking at in a 12-team or less.
Yep, for sure. Is anybody going to give Joel Farabee like the 18-minute treatment? Can we see that sometime? Is that something that exists?
Probably not.
Oh, I hate to hear this. Debbie Downer over here. Oh, this conversation's over, I guess. Damn it. Nate, you're supposed to say yes and. It's like theater sports. We've talked about this. All right, you carry it, and then okay, we'll work on that later.
We'll edit it in post.
Oh, you're so agreeable, and I love that. All right, let's move on. Detroit Red Wings. They play Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So again, you can split this up. First week, you stream your brains out with like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday team, and then you roll over onto some Detroit Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's excellent, right?
Yeah.
That's 2 moves. You're getting 7 games. Bang. Right. And they got some good pieces here, starting with Marco Kasper. That's the guy I'm interested in the most there. But Simon Edmondson is out there. Vladimir Tarasenko. I'm not interested in that really. JT Comfort. Yeah, oh, God, are we going that low? I think Kasper and Edmondson are interesting pieces. Talk to me about those players, Nate.
Yeah, Edvinson is worth a look in some deeper formats. Just 1 assist in his last 5, but he's getting 22 minutes a night. He blocks a fair bit. He does that for you. So if that's a value in your leagues, if you're in a deeper league and you're desperate for a D spot, then Edvinson for sure can do that. Casper, I agree, is the guy you're most interested in here. Just under 17 minutes, average time on ice, 2 goals, 3 points in his last 5, 144 shots per 60, 72nd in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60. He's playing with Lucas Raymond at even strength and Elmer Soderblom as they've revamped these lines once again. But that line did get the most time on ice in this game against Carolina here on Friday evening. So there is that to say in Marco Kasper's favor as well. And if that's not enough, he also throws the body like a absolute lunatic. So love that for Marco Kasper and for your Cats leagues.
I love that. I say that to people sometimes. I love that for you. It's like such a passive aggressive thing to say, like, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I love that for you. It's like, get the hell out of my sight. What are you doing? Sorry about that. All right. New York Rangers. That's the next team here. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Thursday. That's the Rangers schedule here. And yeah, I mean, we're looking at Alexis Lafreniere, Will Cooley, Braden Schneider, if you're in a bangers league. Perot. I mean, I don't know. Gabe Perot. What's he doing out there? How has that been so far? Has he played a game?
Yeah, he's played. He played with Miller and Lafreniere
Oh
on
wow.
that
Okay.
line in the last game, so that's obviously a decent look at even strength. He's not on the top power play unit, obviously, but yeah, obviously a very highly touted prospect coming in. Talked about him a little bit on the Puzzling Players episode earlier this week, and so if he's given the chance to perform with some good players, I could see it going well for him, but probably he needs power play time to really pop off for fantasy purposes. But it's at least worth looking at, especially in kind of your more points heavy, points only formats. You could probably do worse than Pro in some of your deeper points only formats. I like Lafreniere here, obviously, 5 points in his last 5. The underlying metrics are still pretty bad, but maybe you can find something here with JT Miller and Pro on the other side. That's a possibility. Braden Schneider randomly has a goal and 4 points in his last 5, also throws the body around a ton, so I like that. Will Cooley is a big time hitter, but the offense has finally dried up completely after he's had a pretty solid scoring season to
Yeah.
date. A lot of that probably due to some unsustainable percentages, but yeah, I still like Will Cooley in your Bangers Cats for sure.
He's no Kiefer Sherwood. All right, let's agree on that. Nate, you with me on this?
Yeah, he's probably a better scorer than Sherwood.
Actually, I'm in a league, and Kiefer Sherwood is on my opponent's team. He's ranked 8th in the format.
Oh,
What the hell? I mean, I have to look at the scoring settings,
is it a
but
hits only league?
apparently, I don't know, or just a good looks, rugged good looks league. I don't know. That's where we're at with that. He's a good looking man, but he wears gloves underneath his hockey gloves. That's kind of a fun fact about Kiefer Sherwood. I don't know. He has eczema or something. I don't know. Let's move on. Tampa Bay Lightning. They play Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. All right, and it's the usual suspects here. The Jerk Store, Oliver Bjorkstrand, Nick, a.k.a. Jones, Paul, and Anthony Cirelli. I mean, Cirelli's probably rostered. Bjorkstrand or Paul, you interested in these guys for this?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see some new lines and see what they might try to go with. I feel like they might shake things up again after that really disappointing loss to Ottawa in the game that they really kind of needed to have to keep pace with Toronto
Yep.
and Florida in the race to be number 1 in the Atlantic. So, yeah, I'm sure they're not happy with that result, and I wonder if they will change things up a little bit. Bjorkstrand was playing on the third line with Gord, so that's obviously not great from that perspective. Also, not on the top power play, as Hagel's been up on the top power play. It's been Paul, Cirelli, Hagel, second line, and Kucherov, Point, Gensel, as always, as the top line. Side note, why did Kucherov have to wait till this week to stop scoring points? I don't know, but that's really aggravating. I think I would, yeah, I mean, Sorelli, if he's out there, you're looking at for sure Bjorkstrand versus Paul. I guess I'd go Paul just for the extra minutes. Like, Bjorkstrand's only averaging 13 minutes a night in the last 5 games. That's not going to cut it. Paul's up closer to 18. He's just kind of
Yep.
a bit more of a Swiss Army knife kind of guy, and so he's used a lot more. Bjorkstrand does have 4 points in those 5 games, but if I had to bet on the most likely player to score based on their current deployment, I would still go with Paul by a hair.
Let's go. I like that. All right. Let's move on to the next couple teams here. Anaheim and LA both play 6 games, which with 3 off nights. So we got to dig in there. Anaheim plays Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then they play Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And you got your usual suspects there as well. A couple beefers, Radko Gudas, Jacob Trouba are out there. I mean, in bangers leagues, those guys should both be rostered. But yeah, it gets interesting after that point. Sorry, Mason McTavish. This guy's blowing up. He had an insane 11-shot game, 3 assists the other day. He's looking really good. He's peaking at the right time here. Well, I mean, they're out of the playoffs, so maybe he's just feeling his plums. I don't know. But you got McTavish, you got Troy Terry, who Nate and I both like. Leo Carlson's been playing really well. Cutter Gauthier and Ziggy, Trevor Zegras. Talk to me about the Ducks. Any interest here?
Yeah, definitely interest here. McTavish is obviously on a better right now, first in the league in shots for 66 and individual scoring chances for per 60 over the last 5 games. 5 points in those 5 games. Really good stuff there. Cutter Gauthier has really nice underlying numbers too. Third in shots per 60 over the last 5, but he's only playing like under 13 minutes a night, which is kind of crazy. Leo Carlson just under 18 minutes a night. He's got 7 points in the last 5, so that's really nice. 31st in individual scoring chances for per 60 and 34th, that is, in on ice scoring chances for per 60.
Mm-hmm.
Troy Terry's got some good underlying numbers here still. 32nd shots per 60, 12th individual scoring chances for per 60, 7th in on ice scoring chances for per 60. But he's carrying
Dang.
around the corpses of Ryan Strome and Frank Vetrano at the moment, and that's not going well for him. So there is that to contend with. Trevor Zegras has 4 points in his last 5. He's definitely like the setup guy on that McTavish line. Sam Colangelo's also on that line, so maybe he can get in on some of this. But either way, like under the hood, things are looking good for Anaheim. I think they're finally playing free. I don't know if Cronin was like, I know I'm getting fired after this, so
Yeah.
do what you want. And they're all like, oh, wow, we could actually score some goals now. This is fun. I don't know what's going on there, obviously, but it's good for fantasy. So at the moment, I'm pretty into a lot of these guys. I think right now you have to take McTavish number 1, probably Carlson number 2. I'd still take Terry number 3, and I could see him as high as number 1 because I do think the talent is there. It just seems like they're really set with these lines at the moment, and he
Yeah.
has 2 line mates who are absolutely doing nothing for him at the moment. So that's kind of where I'm at. And then after that, yeah, you got your Zegras, your Gauthier, kind of the secondary guys who are also have some interest for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting at this point in the season, like when it comes to your playoffs, it's not so much about the underlying metrics and what we think the player will do. It's like, what is the player actually doing, right?
Yep.
To your point there with Troy Terry, like obviously I'd like him over all those players, but he's not doing the thing. Mason McTavish is doing the thing. So that makes total sense to me. Let's move over to LA. They play Monday and then not until Thursday. So this is a good back half team here for week 25. Monday, then Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Bang. That's a really nice stream starting on Thursday if you can get some LA Kings in there. And they got just an absolute unit, a beautiful head of hair. Big Kuzi. Yeah, Andre Kuzmenko. This guy lands on his feet every time. Okay. He's on the power play in there and he's doing stuff. Kuzi's got 6 points in the last 5. I love that. He looks good in that beautiful matte black helmet. LA Kings might have the best jersey in the league. I'm actually really into that jersey. You got Trevor Moore, Warren McLovin, Fogle, Alex Laferriere, Phil Deneau, Tanner Jeannot. Why do you always put those 2 names together on the list here? That sounds weird, but yeah, and Jeannot's injured right now currently, so get him out of there. But talk to me about Big Kuzi. Are you have any interest there?
Yeah, I definitely do. You have to at this point, playing with Kempe and
Top
Kopitar
line.
at even strengths. I don't think that's honestly the top line anymore. Like, it's not getting the most
No.
ice time. The Byfield line gets most of the ice time at this point. but definitely on the top power play as well, and seems to have carved out a bit of a role for himself there. 58th shots per 60, 65th individual scoring chances for per 60, 16 and a half minutes a night. It's good signs for Kuzmenko. I think he is the point scorer to roster among the streaming options available here, widely available here. I like Trevor Moore as well. He's doing some good things, shooting the puck, 3 goals in his last 5. Warren Fogel's been doing that as well. He's got 2 goals, 3 points in his last 5. They're somewhat similar players. I give the edge to Moore there. Laferriere is on the Byfield line, is 26th in shots per 60. But yeah, I don't know what it is with Laferriere. He had that terrific start, and we were all excited. The underlying numbers have looked good for a good chunk of the season, but he remains completely unable to score any real points since basically like December, I think it feels like at this point.
They got booted
I don't know
from
what
the power
happened there.
play there.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it for sure. Philip Deneau has finally like resurfaced a little bit. He's still only got 8 goals on the season, so definitely a bit more of a back end streamer here. But it's a conversation between him and Laferriere for sure.
You bet, buddy. All right, that's it for those teams here. We're going to rapid fire these next couple here because we're getting long in the tooth. But we want to talk about all these 6-game teams because it is important. So we've got Carolina and Toronto as a 6-game team, both with 2 off nights. I'll give you the schedule here. Then, Nate, I'm going to name 4 players, and I want you to give me your pick, and I'll take my pick. All right. Carolina plays Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday. All right. And the streamers we're looking at for Carolina: Taylor Hall, Jackson Blake, Logan Stankoven, and Dmitry Orlov. Who's your pick?
Yeah, you got to go Jackson Blake here, top line and top power play. There's no question in my mind.
Boom. It's Jackson Blake with a bullet. Let's get the biz. With Toronto, they play Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, then Tuesday, Thursday. This is a little less inspiring. OEL, Jake McCabe, who's I think he's injured, isn't he? And then Bobby McMahon. Those are our that's what we're looking at there. Who are you picking out of these studs?
Yeah, McCabe is not going to play Saturday, so yeah, obviously just a Bangers League option for sure. But yeah, Bobby McMahon, 8th in shots per 60, 13th individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, playing on the Nylander Tavares line that's been popping as of late, 15 minutes a night. You could definitely do worse.
Absolutely. Give me Bobby. Let's move on to some other teams here that play 6 games with 1 off night: Buffalo, Columbus, and the New York Islanders. We'll start with Buffalo. They play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. And we got, I'm not going to make it easy here. We got JJ Peterka at 50%. He's got to be on your squad. So forget him. We're talking Bo Byram, Owen Power, the Power Glove, Josh Norris, who could be returning soon, Big Pimp and Jay-Z, Jason Zucker, Ryan McLeod, that legend, and then Jack Quinn, Medicine Woman. Who are you taking from the Buffalo Sabres as your pick?
Yeah, it's tough to pick here. I think I might go back to the well with Zucker. McLeod has the time on ice advantage by a significant amount. Honestly, maybe you have to go with McLeod just for the time on ice and hope that they stay hot a little bit longer. I just have no faith that he will.
Yeah, I would choose McLeod as well. Again, it's just that what we just talked about. The guy's going currently, the line's going currently. I would love to take Jack Quinn, but everything he's doing is unsustainable. It doesn't make any sense, but he's on a heater. So I like that line. I'd probably go McLeod because I think he's got a little bit more sustainability there. In Columbus, let's go there. They play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. We got Big Boone Jenner. He's popping off, and I'm here for it. Adam Fantilli, Matthew Olivier, Dmitry Voronkov, and Kent Johnson. Your boy. Who are you picking in Columbus?
Yeah, there's good options here for sure. I like the underlying numbers with both Jenner and Fantilli. I think you go Jenner at this point. 37 shots per 60, 36 individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, almost 19 minutes a night. Playing with Fantilli and Kent Johnson at even strength is a good spot to be for him. And I think that line actually complements each other really well. Yeah, at least on paper. And obviously they've had some good results early here, but I think it actually does work as a unit, and so I like that for Jenner. And on the top power play as well, what's not to love?
Everything. All right, this guy's amazing. You got to take Papa Boone here. That's a great pick on your part there, Nate. All right, last team here. New York Islanders play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. And we got that absolute beefer, that legend, Anders Lee. He's popping off this year. Great metrics, not great production. That's the story of his season. We got Alexander Romanov, Tony D'Angelo, Kyle Palmieri, who's gone to sleep in my playoffs where I roster him, and then Jean-Gabriel Pageau. Give me your pick.
Yeah, it's got to be Anders Lee here. Top line, top power play, 6th in shots per 60, second individual scoring chances for per 60, 60.5 minutes average time on ice. He may not have like a tremendous end of the season, but he'll do something. Palmieri is skating more minutes, but the metrics have fallen off a fair bit, and so I think it's Lee by a hair of this group.
Oh, dang. You know who I'm taking? Tony D'Angelo. I think, but I'm taking the Vorp here because this guy's doing stuff. I've had him on a couple spots now, and I'm a fan now. I mean, as a person, the guy's trash. But you know what? Hockey player, he's not too shabby. So shout out to you, Tony D. We will get you a haircut. That's all that's required here. Just get this man a personality transplant and a haircut, and we're good to go. Okay. But anyways, that's that. Nate, tell us about the Patreon, and then we get into the dream streams. Let's get to biz.
All right, $2 a month gets you access to patron-only live shows. Won't be next week, but the week after. I'm going to do that on Monday night, and the time when I would normally be doing puzzling players and be talking about lessons learned from this season, some of the big themes of the season, and also identifying some players that I already have my eye on for next season. So that's going to be a fun show for sure. Also going to be talking a lot with the people who join and getting some answering some questions, whatever you want to talk about, we can talk about there. So get in, $2 a month will get you there. Apple's tier, $8 a month gets you the access to those patron-only live shows, also access to patron-only Discord channels, the show notes, including the show notes for the show right here, and it gets you access to the player evaluation tool that we put out. It helps you make those add drop decisions that you need to. For $15 a month, if you need to have every single one of your questions guaranteed to be answered by yours truly, that's how you do it. You become a true degenerate and sign up for the Genos tier. Blake, are you ready for this? Are you ready for some dream streams?
I can't wait, buddy. We're dreaming and streaming.
All right. Sharks trio off the top: Tyler Toffoli, William Eklund, Will Smith. Again, I know we just talked about, focus on the games played over the off nights, but for the purpose of this, I don't know how to draw the line that do they play on this off night or do they play on this heavy night that's only 9 games versus the 10 games, and do I count this versus that? So the easiest line in the sand to draw is just to say off nights. That's what I'm assuming you can get these players in for, and the Sharks and the Oilers have the 5 off nights, so I'm going to throw these Sharks in here right at the top. Toffoli, Eklund, Smith is how I would do it, as I mentioned. Then going to the 4 off-night teams, I'm going to throw Blake Coleman in here. Underlying metrics looking good, as I mentioned. Marco Casper, Matt Coronado, Morgan Frost, I'll throw in here. Alexis Lafreniere, Anthony Cirelli, and Oliver Bjorkstrand from the back end. Nick Paul, there's a lot of players once you get into here. As I mentioned, I've probably changed my mind 3 more times before the next time these teams play on which guy down here. But yeah, focus up top if you can. If any of those Sharks are available, that's definitely a target for me. What would you say, Blake?
Yeah, no, I love that. I think it's sneaky. Like, people were off the Sharks, so these guys could be out there.
For sure. For hits and blocks, let's get into it. At the top of the list, Vasily Podkolzin has been throwing the body in a big way. Was playing on that Draisaitl line again in the last game. Obviously, that's not going to continue, but he will still throw the body for sure. Will Cooley, he does that. Martin Pospisil, he does that. Braden Schneider doing that as well. And then Marco Casper showing up here again. Want to throw him some love. Him and Blake Coleman are definitely the best multi-cat guys of the group to roster for this final week 25. And for blocks, basically the Sharks defensemen here are who you want to be looking at. They've got a bunch of guys. I mean, it is the Sharks, right? So they're definitely going to be giving up a lot of shot attempts against, and then having to subsequently step in front of those pucks if they want to keep their jobs. So Shakir Mukhamadullin has been blocking a ton. He's currently out for Saturday, and so you'll have to continue to watch his status to see if he actually does get back in for the games that you want him for in week 25. But Timothy Liljegren and Mario Ferraro, they both do that as well. Ben Sherratt from Detroit. Braden Schneider shows up here again, and Simon Edvinsson as an honorable mention if Mukhamadullin is out. Anything to add with the Beefers, Blake?
No, just that guy's name. That's an epic name. Mukammadulin. I love that. That sounds good. And he's out there just beefing people out of control. Shout out to him.
Absolutely. Let's move over to Hold Me. And once again, we are only talking about goaltenders that we'd like to hold or we would like to hold us. Karel Vejmelka, you know he's going to start. And what is it, like 19 straight starts at this point for Vejmelka, and they show no signs of stopping. At this point, you have to roster him. And then you get into the messier list for sure. I think Lucas Dostal with this Gibson news definitely deserves a lot of your attention with the way that these Anaheim forwards have been putting up points. I think that's of interest for sure. Cam Talbot has had a nice little resurgence here as of late, so that might be something you want to look at depending on how long Mrazek is out, probably. But Talbot has been getting some run and playing well. Tristan Jarry, Elvis Merzlikins has been getting caved in, really kind of submarining Columbus's chances at the playoffs, which is really unfortunate to see. Charlie Lindgren might be getting some run here, depending on how Logan Thompson's injury plays out here and how much rest they want to give Logan Thompson heading into the playoffs. So that's a look. And then Calvin Picard. I never know how to say that name. I've said it in a different way every time I've said it, I think. But yeah, as long as Stuart Skinner's out, Picard is there. Sub 25% rostered. Jarry, I guess, qualifies, but also Spencer Knight here, if you're brave enough to go to a Chicago goaltender. And then Gibson, if and when he gets back. So those are the goaltenders. Who's your particular fancy, Blake?
I like Lindgren. I think that's a really nice ad. I'm looking at the team environment, and Lindgren has been successful in the past, and now he's getting some run. Plus, if Ovi doesn't score in this next game, the team's gonna be crushing out there. They're gonna be really trying to get some wins and get Ovi this goal. So yeah, give me Lindgren, book it.
All right. Last order of business, the head-to-head streamer deathmatch. And in this one, Blake took Mackie Samoskevich. I took Kent Johnson. We are halfway through. Both of these players have played 2 games. Samoskevich has 10.5 kick-off points. Kent Johnson has 13. Both have 2 more to go. So actually a pretty good week so far for both of us, and should be a good finish as well. So looking forward to me getting to double digits. I'm definitely not jinxing myself at all by saying that.
This is my Stanley Cup right here, Nate. Okay, this is everything. This week of head-to-head streamer deathmatch means everything.
All right.
Okay.
Well, if you've made it this far, you should probably click the link in the description and join the Discord community. Come commiserate or celebrate, as your case may be. Like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, whatever you can do. It really does help us out. That's going to be all that we've got for this episode. Hopefully it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick, which is a terrific free resource. Many thanks to the band there for supplying music for the podcast. Be sure to check out their Spotify as well. And that's it, folks. Much love.